Washington, D.C. is a huge sports town.
Right.
You're not trying to make more profits. You're trying to close this sucker. You're trying to shut it down. His motives are laid bare. He does not, and this is what kills me, because, I started talking about George Foster Kane, well, I'll even go back to reality.
We're talking about billionaires and how, a couple of $1 million for them is chump change. It's like the type of change that me and Brian might lose in my minivan in his car, but for them, it's nothing. And Brian Karem, you know him, you love him. Brian, shamelessly promote yourself. Give yourself the sexy time introduction.
Let's see. Brian Karem at Brian J. Karem at Reporter's Notebook on Substack. The Just Ask the Question podcast, wherever fine podcasts are sold, and written 5 years ago. And I think I'm going to register myself as a prophet. Free the Press, the book in its third printing that outlines everything we're going through right now. And of course, Salon, every Friday in Salon.
And folks, Brian also is a Nerd Avenger. You must have seen us when we used to do those weekly on Mary Trump's channel, which is now thriving. And folks, we're talking about Bezos and billionaires and the deliberate capture and the word I'm going to use, murder of the free press. And
I'll go you one better. I'll say democracy doesn't die in darkness. It dies in the light of the C-suite as it puts the gun to its own head, pulls the trigger, lulled into the belief by the government that pulling the trigger will mean greater profits.
And my Cliff Notes version of that is what we've been saying on Democracy-ish and with Brian and with Mary Trump is, if you're a student of history, you have seen that corporations, industrialists, the elite of that age, whether it's in Italy or Germany, always lay the red carpet out for fascism. Because why let a little bit of a genocide or, I don't know, the destruction of human rights and dissidents and critics get in the way of the bottom line? And what we have seen, Brian, and I want to first take the DeLorean back, 1 year before we talk about what happened today, the bloodbath at Washington Post, as Washington Post laid off a third of its staff, literally people who are covering war zones in the middle of the war zone found out, oh, by the way, your services aren't needed. The entire Middle East staff, the one at Pulitzer for talking about Gaza's genocide, gone. A sports section, gone. Book section,
Stop right there. Stop right there. If he did two things that shows you that he's not about saving the Washington Post, but killing it. He got rid of its flagship podcast, which is the future and is where you can bring in some money. And number two, he canceled the sports section. Washington, D.C. is a huge sports town. You're not trying to make more profits. You're trying to close this sucker. You're trying to shut it down. His motives are laid bare. He does not, and this is what kills me, because, I started talking about George Foster Kane, well, I'll even go back to reality. Barry Bingham. When I was at the Courier-Journal, I want to make sure I get this right because I actually quoted it. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, well. The death of journal. Oh, here it is. I have always regarded the newspapers owned by me as a public trust and have endeavored so to conduct them as to render the greatest public service. There is no, and this was a rich guy, but he felt a connection to his community. Jeff Bezos doesn't give a damn. He doesn't, and you know what? If what the Epstein files are showing us more than anything else is that those people live and play in their own playland where they think rules don't matter to them, and the rest of us can go fuck ourselves. Excuse my foul language.
No, and he also let go of Caroline Donovan, the reporter who covers Amazon, the primary.
There you go.
And then also, folks, I want to quote some folks. Here's executive editor Marty Byrne, former executive editor of Washington Post. This ranks among the darkest days in the history of one of the world's greatest news organizations. The Washington Post's ambitions will be sharply diminished. Its talented and brave staff will be further depleted, and the public will be denied the ground level, fact-based reporting in our communities around the world than it has ever needed before. But we already saw signs of this in the past year. Let's remember, and this is thanks to NPR, and they did a nice little recap, that a year ago, Bezos's run Washington Post decided to kill their endorsement in the fall of 2024 of Kamala Harris for president. Interesting. That choice, of course, led to a complete exodus of thousands of subscribers, but Jeffrey Bezos didn't care. And then furthermore, let's remember that they have completely rehauled their opinion section, got rid of our friend Karen Attia, among others, and decided we're only going to talk about markets and personal liberties. That got a whole bunch of other people, right? They retained all these Trumpers, Brian. Furthermore, what they did is Anne Telnaeus, the Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist, if you recall, in her entire storied history, she never had a single cartoon ever, if you will, called back or censored. Then she had this cartoon of a whole bunch of these broligarchs giving bags of money at the feet of Donald Trump. And they said, Anne, sorry, that's too much. So then she resigned. That cartoon, of course, went viral. But as this is happening, over the weekend, the timing is just exquisite. Bezos, a man who is worth $250 billion, one of the richest people on earth, a man who, by the way, made his money off of Amazon, where he doesn't pay his workers, right? Where they're going all into AI, but they can't find money to actually, give minimum wage to workers. He found last year, Brian, $40 million to produce Melania, the documentary.
I knew you were going to go there.
That was just released
I
this
just
weekend.
had my lunch, man. Come on.
So wait, not just 40 million, 70 million once you take into account the advertising. And he did it why? He did it to curry favor with the
With
Trump
Trump.
administration. And he was there with all the other broligarchs at the inauguration. And the person who was chosen to direct the Melania documentary is
Is in the Epstein files? Can't be that.
he's in the
No.
Epstein files.
Can't be that. But here's the thing. When he came out, Donald Trump is so blatantly transparent about who he really is. When he came out the other day and was talking very slowly in the Oval Office, he talked about his wife, who is now a movie star. And what did Donald Trump say after he mentioned the fact that she made 28 million all by herself on a budget of 40 million? What did he say? He said, "What's in it for me?" There is nothing that this guy does that question isn't the first question on his lips. So what's in it for him? Take a look at what's in it. And there's a bigger game afoot. Donald Trump has tried to buy out and shut down corporate media. And as we see with Georgia Fort in Minneapolis, he's trying to shut down the independent media by threatening them. Because if you're an independent reporter, you can't afford, libel insurance. You usually can't afford a real expensive attorney. So he's going to bleach. He doesn't care if they go to jail. He cares that they produce a copy that he doesn't like, and he's trying to end that. And the end game of all this we've seen is already on the wall. And you can, if you just read what he's actually doing, the actions in Minneapolis, there are maybe 100,000 illegal immigrants, maybe in Minnesota. How many? There's 1.6 million, I think, in Texas, maybe a million in Florida. You don't see ICE there. This is intimidation. And it was, of course, Bannon who came out this weekend and said, we will surround the polls
Yep.
with ICE. Now, if there's no one there from the press to record this, if we are dissuaded and intimidated into not covering this, how do we know? That's the end game. Donald Trump's end game is to suppress the vote, and he will do it by And look, and this is, I've said it before. Democracy really doesn't die in darkness. It dies in full daylight with us pointing a gun to our own head because we can't see the forest from the trees. This is not a political, this is anti the American Constitution. I have my differences with Republicans. I have differences with Democrats, the real ones. But these people that have gone this far, no, they simply refuse to believe the facts that are before them. And if you can disappear the media, you can call every fact into question. And that's how you destroy a democracy, if we don't have vetted factual information. End of rant. Sorry, that's my.
No, it's a lot there. But in the 1984, George Orwell warned, those who control the past control the present, and those who control the present control the past, and those who control the past control the future. And the final, most essential command of the party was, don't believe the evidence of your eyes and ears. And Steve Bannon, 10 years ago, to your point, said the media is the enemy. Forget the Democrats. use the media. And what we found out from the Epstein files is Epstein, about 14, 15 years ago, got very interested in what? Right wing media, 4chan, online gaming systems. What did Steve Bannon and the right wing use to try to promote disinformation and conspiracy theories? Right wing media, video games, the brosphere, right? Who took over and captured these once trusted sources of independent communities, right? People who came out grassroots, talked about BLM and Me Too in the Arab Spring. Twitter. Who took over Twitter? Elon Musk. Who took over CBS Paramount? David Ellison. Who took over TikTok? Larry Ellison. Who took over Washington Post? Jeff Bezos. Who's taken over? Has
Well, to your point, when I first started, look, 43, I'm an official old fart. I got the card in the mail the
we're
other
both
day.
old.
43 years I've been covering this crap, and never have I seen anything like this. But the point of pointing out how it's changed over those 43 years. When I first got into this business, 80% of what you see, read, or hear was operated and owned by about 2 dozen companies. Today, 4 companies
I
own or
thought
operate.
five.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
4 actually with the merger.
No.
Yeah, that's so. All right, or if you want to say 5, 5, 90, more than 90% of what you see, read, or hear. And at the same time, there were twice the number of people on the map today in the United States than on the day that I was born, and less than half the number of reporters. The population has grown, the reporting population has shrunk, owned by fewer people, and the information that you need, you do not get. So and they always complain, well, the old ways don't work. Well, the old ways don't work. And you know why? Because the government killed it, beginning with Ronald Reagan, getting rid of the guardrails that made sure that you didn't have multiple ownership. You had the fairness doctrine. You had everything that kept journalism in its place and built good journalism product has been destroyed. And here's my conspiracy theory about that. I will entertain the conspiracy that if you look at what has happened in journalism in the late 60s, there was never been a golden age of journalism. But once you had CBS, right? Who Edward R. Murrow, who went after,
Or
uh, yeah, and then you had Walter Cronkite and 60 Minutes, all of them very tough, very good on government. And what happened in the 60s as well? The Pentagon Papers
right.
and Watergate. Every newspaper, every television service that provided that information has been targeted for the last 50 years
Yep.
for extinction, and Donald Trump has helped to do it. He drove a stake through the heart of an already injured body, injured by 50 years of incompetence in the executive branch in dealing with free speech,
I wouldn't even say incompetence. I would say very deliberate, intentional.
which is incompetence. Because if you claim you're there for the Constitution, this is not about the
No, they didn't care
Constitution.
about it. I mean, I'm glad you went there because, well, let's keep the DeLorean there and connect the dots because a lot of people don't know this. They think, it's just the greedy billionaires. Yes, but there's also been a marriage between these greedy billionaires and the right wing.
Absolutely. Well,
And can you tell them about Roger Ailes and what he said about Nixon specifically? If that
Well,
Nixon,
Roger Ailes tried to start it when Roger Ailes, and it was, by the way, Nixon who discovered and promoted Roger Ailes, and they tried to create their own network back then and could not do it. And he said if he could create a network, he could drive opinion in the right direction, meaning the direction he wanted to drive it in. So Fox News, when he took over Fox News, that's what happened. But I got news for you. Every president has been complicit in this, some
absolutely.
less than others. But it was Ronald Reagan that started it out. It was George Bush and the Patriot Act, which, by the way, was created by legislation that had been trashed by the Congress until 9/11, and they had to react quickly. So they brought out bad legislation that further destroyed. And then I will go with
DHS, creation of DHS, the creation of ICE,
yes,
and also the Patriot Act, all done in 2003.
yes, and thanks. And it has helped to destroy my chosen profession, and it hurts because and today watching what they're doing to the Washington Post, to me, I remember, I remember when the press made a difference. And what brought it home about how ineffective we are was yesterday in the Oval when Donald Trump called on Caitlin Collins
Oh yeah,
and would not answer the question that she asked about the Epstein files, had been saying we need to move on for a long time, and then told her that her organization should be ashamed of her
Yep.
and that she didn't smile. Now, I don't know what kind of asshole would smile when asking about child abuse victims from pedophiles, but that's not the point. The point is that after she asked the question, not one reporter in that room stood up to defend her. And I don't mean by saying, oh, you shouldn't do that to a female reporter. Helen Thomas was my mentor. Helen said, I'm not a female reporter, I'm a reporter. What I mean is what Helen also preached: ask the damn question. So when she asked that question yesterday in the Oval Office, and not one reporter backed her up by asking that question again until it got answered, shows you the depths of despair that I have for my profession. Because even in the first Donald Trump administration, we followed up each other, not often, but we did. Most of the people there are gone. There's no Helen Thomases. There's no Sam Donaldsons. And what's left in there are nothing but sycophants, morons, and propagandists,
I'm
with
glad you
very
mentioned
few
that
exceptions.
because Bill Madden on Twitter said not one White House correspondent had the courage to come to the defense of Caitlin Collins after the pedophile president attacked her for asking a legitimate question about the
I
victim.
said the same thing. Yeah.
Not one. And then earlier today, I don't know if you saw, with Megyn Kelly, who, by the way, defended this by referring to these men as, oh, just going for barely legal girls. She was in a conversation with Batya Ungar-Sargon. Go check it out. It went viral, I think it was last month. Oh, they were barely legal. Oh, no, no. They were girls. It was rape. And then yesterday on CNN, Batya, who also works for News Nation and also is insanely pro-Israel and pro-Trump, said, let's just get over it. Let's just move on. Let's move on from this. This was
Isn't that's not, they get their talking point. You got to give the right this. They're well organized with their talking points. I can turn on any MAGA member, a member of the MAGA military, anybody who's a member of the MAGA media. They will come out and they will sound exactly alike every single damn time.
well, to that point, JD Vance earlier today, when asked by Megyn Kelly about Caitlin Collins, why does she always have to be so antagonistic? Have some fun. You can't always take yourself too seriously. You're going to have a heart attack. She was asking about the girls who were raped by.
I'm adding that to my column. I did not know JD said that
Oh,
today.
yeah. Yeah, I'll give you the link right now. I'll
Okay,
give you,
email it to me.
yeah, right now. I keep the receipts for you.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
this is, I mean, and also what I want to say, folks, and before I forget, so Bezos is worth $250 billion, one of the wealthiest people on earth, makes his money through Amazon, which doesn't pay its workers, terrible conditions. And this is a lot about labor too, about workers. These are employees. These are people. This is why you need unions. And by the way, speaking about the 50-year war on press by the right wing, 50-year war on unions, on laborers for moments like this.
Yes.
People forget. People in the media, they're workers. I mean, they're just average Jose's and Janes who
And
get
that started with Ronald Reagan as well. When Ronald Reagan fired the PATCO, the air traffic controllers, that was when all of this fight against the union really gained a lot of momentum. Now, unions have had their problems with, God knows Jimmy Hoffa, but but the fact that unions are there for the working people, they have lost that ideal. They don't care.
Nope.
The owners they don't give a crap, and they are destroying. They have been union busting and going on since the Gilded Age. It's just that they're far better in the information age. Our interconnectivity has destroyed us.
And also, I want to show you this. Uh, Folks, 2 days ago, Pete Hegseth visited Jeffrey Bezos' space facilities in Florida
Oh,
as the
yeah.
military, wait for it, awards contracts to the owner of Blue Origin and other tech billionaires who have worked to burnish a chummy relationship with Trump administration. This is USA Today. Hegseth's visit was part of his Arsenal of Freedom speaking tour in his campaign to overhaul the Pentagon's relationship with Defense Industrial Base, its system for handing out contracts to build weapons. Bezos' Blue Origin has become famous for offering pay-to-ride trips to space for ultra-wealthy customers, but the company has also received billions of dollars in defense contracts to build high-tech projects such as nuclear-powered spacecraft, communication technology that uses space lasers, and a processing facility for satellites. I've been keeping up to this news. I know there's a lot people have forgotten about it, folks. This was just 2 days ago.
Yeah,
I
well, and
mean,
it's hard that's part of the, game plan too. Donald Trump floods, just wants to flood the streets with bullshit of his making, so you don't look at the real news that's going on, and that's unfortunate and, of course, detrimental to all of us. And I don't know that it's gonna get any better if you don't have any journalists out there. What you have are the sycophants parroting. I mean, I just picked up what you said, have some fun.
yep.
The vice president of the United States comes across as the kid who was always picked last for kickball. He's horrible, and I'll tell you who else it comes across that way is Elon Musk. They didn't even want him on Epstein Island.
Yeah,
He
they're like, what a
could,
freak.
they're going, hey, we're freaky, but then there's this guy. Let's
I'm folks. If it seems like I'm doing the two things at once, because we have a fantastic journalist. I don't know if you know her. She does great work. Kim Kelly. Kim Kelly does fantastic work. She's a labor journalist, and she's been talking about the attack on labor for the past few years. She wrote a great book, and she's been writing a lot about what Bezos did. So I want to bring her on. But before I do, and I'm going to try to find her because she said she messaged me, so I'll bring her on. I just have to find her handle. Talk to us about what you've seen in the past 5 years, or either even the past year, and with the information that I've given you, with the deliberate capture of media by billionaires.
Well, what we've seen is a lack of information, more obfuscation, less transparency. They are able to ghost you much easier in government because they know they don't need you anymore. They have their own sycophants who will run point for them. This is actually, when you look at it historically wise, this is taking journalism back to the age of Andrew Jackson or to the age of
Well, what happened then during those times?
each candidate would have their own newspaper, or it wasn't really a news, they were flyers, right? Pamphleteers, who would write stories that basically would say great things about the person that they represented and say mean, nasty, illegal, unethical, unsubstantiated things about those opposed to them. So that had changed over the years as journalists became more professional and as we took advertising and as we were able to make sure that we weren't the slaves to the politicians. We instead became the slaves to our advertisers, who then were bought by the politicians. So it's been a long game to recapture the ability to control the media, and they have landed. They've made the landing.
Folks, Kim Kelly just joined us because Kim is a fantastic labor journalist. She's written a fantastic book, which I will have her shamelessly promote. She's, according to her Blue Sky, I like this, big on metal, workers, tattoos, coal places, and Philly. Do no harm, take no shit. She was a guest on the Left Oak way back in the day. She knows this inside and out. And I followed some of her takes on this. And I said, Kim, last second, I'm pissed off. I'm sick. I'm in bed. I want to rail on the billionaires and them shitting on these workers and media. She goes, I'm in. Kim, I don't know if you know Brian. Brian's been in this game for four
Pleasure.
decades. White House reporter. He's been warning. I wrote a book called Free the Press for the 1,200 people joining us, saying, hey, watch out for the billionaire capture. He has seen the, if you will, the subservience of corporate media. All these folks, we warned them. We said, hey, Jake Tapper, it ain't going to be enough. They're still going to hate you. Hey, Washington Post. Hey, New York Times. Hey, CNN. And now you see Bezos.
Stand
Kim,
up to a bully, they don't do it.
2 days ago, we just talked about how Bezos invited with an open arm Kim Kekseth to his Blue Space Origin facility. And folks, another data point. This dude last year spent $50 million on his wedding in Italy, and all the elites came to his $50 million wedding.
Nice.
But he can't find $50 million, Kim, for a third of the Washington Post, the workers who are now laid off. And you have a good point about this. You said this, and it really triggered something in me. These folks are labor. They're media. They're workers. Like,
Ca-
they have no protections.
Wait a minute, time out. You said you're sick and you're in bed. You keep the Millennium Falcon in bed with you?
No, I was in. This is not my bed. I actually
Okay.
have one bed. Kim, your take
I
on
just
what?
had to ask that. It came to mind.
Gosh, wow, $15 million. I wonder what the
50, no,
payroll
50,
looked
50.
like.
50.
Oh, my Jesus, Mary and Joseph. It's so gross. We used to have oligarchs and billionaires and these sort of obscenely wealthy people, and they would fund the arts and endow universities and create libraries and do give away their money because they're afraid of going to hell. And now these freaks don't have the fear of God in them anymore, and they think that they won. They think they won the class war, and I mean,
Well,
they haven't
they
won,
remind me of
but
they remind me of the old. I mean, either the old Roman gods or Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, what they're doing on Epstein Island. No rules apply to me. No rules
Well, that's
apply to me.
Oh, well, Kim, that's what it is. Like no regulation, no accountability. And we sat here, not we, not you, not me, not Brian, not the people who are watching. Thank you all for tuning in. But America sat there and said, you know what? Maybe it'd be fine if a billionaire took over Twitter. Maybe it'd be fine if one of the wealthiest people in the world took over Washington Post. What could go wrong? They'd streamline it. They'll come up with inventive ideas. And instead, Kim, what happened is the truth is sacrificed, democracy is sacrificed, and workers are sacrificed. Your response
yeah,
to what you saw today.
it's it's just so ugly. It's every media layoff is a tragedy, right? Every time a good journalist loses their job, those that's an entire galaxy of stories that aren't going to be told. A research that isn't going to be done, work that is not going to be completed. And seeing it happen at a place like the Washington Post that is, for all its faults, it does very, 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 very important work. There are so many good, principled, brilliant reporters and editors and media workers that have been part of that publication for a long time, up to including today before they got the axe. But the thing is, they're owned by this incredibly wealthy billionaire. It would be pocket change to him to continue funding this for the next 1,000
Pennies
years.
on the dollar. Pennies
Right.
on actually, the what he says that he will save is basically a penny of every $100 that he owns, and what he would spend to keep it going is 2 cents.
Sure. So it's not about money. For a lot of newsrooms that shutter, a lot of these digital media massacres that happen, the people in charge, the ones that somehow always get to keep their jobs, it's easier for them to point to finances, to cutting the fat, to pivoting, to staying nimble, all these nonsense buzzwords that mean we wanted to fire a bunch of people and we're just going to throw some words at you and maybe a little bit of severance and hope you
Well,
get
well,
out of
well,
our
the word
hair.
they gave Kim, I don't know if you saw the word that executive editor Matt Murray said was, wait for it, strategic reset.
Oh my God. I don't know
Yeah,
where
that
people
sounds like
learn these
something on Call
words.
of Duty. I'm going to do a strategic reset. To them, it's
Hey, one
always
thing, Kim, go continue. I'll get
I don't
Brian in.
know where
yeah,
these
no.
demons learn this kind of, like, infernal wordplay. Like, what does that even mean? That mean it's bullshit. And it is just so egregious to see this happening at this paper where none of this needed to happen. It's very clearly part of this ideological project. Like, there's a reason that Jeff Bezos bought this paper and why they destroyed the opinion section, why they let go all of these crucial reporters in foreign desks, in sports. They killed the book section because God forbid people are able to think about arts and culture. God forbid we're allowed to enjoy our roses while we're fighting for bread. It's just so ugly and mean and petty. And it's very clearly a response to the way this administration is operating. It's very clearly a bid to continue to ingratiate whatever Jeff Bezos wants from the Trump administration. He's kind of gotten what when you're the richest man in the world, what do you need? I guess
More,
your wife
Kim,
needs a Vanity
more.
Fair cover
More,
or something,
more. That's
right? I
did
was
you ever
like,
see the movie Tombstone? And at the end, when Kurt Russell approaches Val Kilmer and he says he's got to face off Johnny Ringo, and he goes, "I don't get it. What does a man like Johnny Ringo want?" And he goes, "A man like Johnny Ringo has a hole in the middle of him, and he can never kill enough, or sell enough, or steal enough to fill it." That's what Bezos is. That's what Donald Trump is. That's what Elon Musk is. They are all multiple heads of the same beast.
And
look, I can't relate. I'm broke as hell. I'm on the 1099 beat still, 7 years strong, freelance labor reporter, highly lucrative profession. Let me tell you that.
well,
And this is
Kim, let me shamelessly promote your books because Kim should be making much more money because her works are fantastic. 3 years ago, and that's when we first talked, she had a book called Fight Like Hell, The Untold History of American Labor. Fantastic book. And then she has another book came out last year for young readers called Fight to Win, Heroes of American Labor. I'm going to put the link And I don't want to put Amazon, so I'm going to put the Simon and Schuster link
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
or Bookshop is nice because it goes to independent bookstores.
independent bookstores. But Kim, let me ask you this question, because you're the expert on this. You've been researching about labor. We gave people, if you will, connect the dots real quick, how this is not just billionaires, but this is a 50-year plan by the right wing to specifically dismantle and take over media, and also to dismantle and take over labor organizations, right? It's been going back to Reagan. Can you talk to us about how this is not just, oh, we just came up with this right now, but this is part and parcel of the 50-year assault?
Sure, I mean, this ain't new, it's just sort of it seems to be accelerating because of the conditions as they stand are very, it is easier than it has been in a while to get away with this sort of thing. But an undereducated and ignorant populace is a powerless populace, right? An
Mm.
unorganized populace is a weaker populace. As I like to say whenever I get the opportunity to talk to groups of people, there are so many more of us than there are of them, and it is very much in their interest, they, in this case, being politically powerful people, the rich people that fund them, the general evil oligarchs out there doing wild shit. Like, they don't want workers to be organized into unions. They don't want us to collectively bargain and to assert our rights as humans, as workers, as anything other than soulless automata that they wish we were. They also don't want us to know about our history. They don't want us to know about our options. They don't want us to know about our real place in the world, about who we really are as people. There's so much about being a person who lives in America that it's there's some good stuff, you know? But there's so much ugliness and brutality that has been, in some cases, intentionally swept under the rug. I live in Philly. They literally, on orders from the Trump administration, have just removed an exhibit about slavery
Yep.
that was up in the National or Independence Mall on George Washington's house to remove the public remembrance of the enslaved people that he enslaved. Like it is easier for people in these positions to exert control over the working class, the poor, everybody out there doing real jobs and crossing fingers they're gonna make it to payday. Because the less we know, the easier it is to turn us against one another, the easier it is to divide us. If you think that someone with a little more melanin than you is getting away with something or getting your job or threatening you in some way, and you don't have any way to realize that anyone to tell you or show you that that is bullshit. What are you gonna think about that? Keeping people ignorant is keeping them powerless, and it's all part of this project. Back in the 1930s, when union density was way higher than it was. Workers used to have reading groups. We had a very strong labor press, very strong independent press. Being a journalist was a trade. It was a working class job. You could go and work at a newspaper and
It
support a
still is, but
family.
it's lower working class now.
Well, honey, you find me a journalism job anywhere outside of New York or LA that someone who doesn't have, Anderson Cooper's connections can get, and I'll be the first one to apply. But for now, there's nowhere for us to go. There's so few journalism jobs left, so few opportunities for as more established folks as well as younger, hungry, new journalists. Like, how is the next generation of journalists and researchers and editors, how are they even going to get out the gate if there's nowhere for them to go? You can't
Well,
write
there's
a
an answer.
$50 blog post for Vice anymore because I think the Saudis bought them. Like, you can't get an internship unless your daddy's rich enough to pay for you to live in DC for 4 months. Like, what is the world going to look like when
Well,
there's so much less access to information and real stories and real history? I don't think it's going to look very good for us.
Well, I
it,
mean,
it
Brian, you want to jump in, but real quick, it's a follow up, and I want to ask you and Kim this, because Kim
yep.
said on Blue Sky, it can't just all be Substack, can it? And to
No, it
what you're
can't.
about to say, what does it look like, Brian?
Well, the future would look here's the way the future looks. It's up in the air. First of all, what you have to do is there are people in Congress who understand the problem. First thing you start out is getting the Press Act uh, turned into law. Jamie Raskin's effort to make sure that I can protect confidential sources so I don't end up going to jail again and you don't
Oh,
because you have a
Washington Post,
confidential
remember that?
source.
Offices
Yeah.
were raided last month?
Yes, you need to support that. Then you need to break up the media monopolies. Then, as Ben Bagdikian said, our job is to be responsible to the public, not to our jobs, not to our editors, not to our friends or even our own career, but to the public. We need to reinstill that, and we do that by breaking up the media monopolies, and as Ben Bagdikian said, diversifying ownership of media. Then for independent media, what you need to do is to provide low interest, low cost loans, tax breaks, and then make sure that at the same time FOIA offices are staffed and that you can afford to have an attorney on your staff and that you can hire staff. All of those are possible if the government reacts correctly to the current situation. But it's not going to do that as long as there's only one or two guys in Congress pursuing it. All of your viewers, all your listeners, all your writers, all your journalists, you have to stop and make that phone call because we have met the enemy and he is us. And we can be I'm quoting Pogo, but what we can do is work together to solve this problem. The other thing in your local and state governments, for example, there are local reporters like Georgia Ford, who was arrested in Minneapolis.
On Friday. That was Friday, folks.
Yeah, that was, God, it seems like a year ago. All right, so she's arrested for doing her job as a reporter. Now, what if that reporter was able to, you had to post your public service ads from government on a local server, which would be hers? It helps subsidize local media. For years, state governments, city governments, county governments, the PTA, anybody who had public notices had to pay to post them. What many people have done is eliminate that legislation and destroy local reporting. And
Very
finally,
deliberately.
and
Very
finally, and
deliberately.
probably most important, strategic lawsuits against public participation. We've got to have stronger laws against that. This is what Donald Trump did with CBS. He sued them because they did not publish the whole interview on 60 Minutes, right? But the fact was, he only found out about that because CBS did publish it on their website. So it was published. This would have been a frivolous lawsuit anywhere else on the planet. But at the time he sued CBS, they were trying to buy Paramount, remember? And they had to have the government okay for that. So they settled with Donnie. That's a strategic lawsuit against public participation. Those slap suits need to be reinforced, and we need government intervention to do it. Those things are possible. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do it on your own because there's way too much going on in the world for any one person to do it. True journalism is a collaborative effort. It needs editors, it needs photographers, it needs reporters, it needs illustrators, and it definitely needs a copy editor.
Let me respond to that and give it to you, Kim. Three things you mentioned. A lot you mentioned there, but Brian, but first and foremost, I think is very important is that local news is the bulwark. Local news stations, local
It's the heart of
it's the
journalism.
heart of journalism. And for the past 10 years, there's been a deliberate, systematic destruction and annihilation of local journalism and
For
local
40
outlets.
years. For 40
Sinclair,
years.
Gannett.
Yeah. And
Gannett has turned most television stations into ghosts and has destroyed every newspaper it ever took over. The Courier Journal and Louisville Times, one of the leading papers in the country for years, Gannett bought it, closed. They had bureaus in D.C., bureaus in several cities in Kentucky, bureaus overseas, closed them all down, closed everything down in the state government. Today, a newspaper that used to have 300,000 circulation has a circulation of, I don't know, maybe 15, 20,000. You could get enough money in your Sunday plated collection to buy the damn thing.
And also, as Kim was saying, Sinclair is completely in bed with the Trump organization. Open outright.
iHeartRadio is the same.
iHeartRadio, and they're the ones who bent the knee and forced ABC to say, "Oh, Brendan Carr, the FCC chair, has came out publicly and straight up threatened Disney and Sinclair. Okay, let's bend the knee, and we're going to take off Kimmel off our stations." ABC's like, "Shit, we can't survive without the local stations. Sorry, Kimmel, you're gone." But what happened, Kim, was for the next 2 or 3 days, people responded with their pocketbooks. And even though I have 800 kids, I said, "F this, I'll cancel Disney Plus." And then Disney was like, "Oh, well, Kimmel, come on back. In fact, we'll give you a 1-year extension." So one is local news. Maybe we can bring this back by local news, local investment, local reporters, right? Second thing I want to ask you about, well, I want to do I said two more things. The complicity, Kim, that so many reporters had with people in power. When I was at CNN for a year as a contributor, I mentioned this earlier today with Danielle. I was in the green room and I saw how this operated. They're all buddies. They're all pals, Kim. It's one big club. They sleep with each other. They marry each other.
Don't say that. There's a mental image I don't need.
Well,
But you're right. You're
they all
right.
party with each other. I mean, it's all part of the big club. And plus, also, you saw this type of softballing with right-wing media, right? The Scott Jennings is brought on, and you sit there
Kid
and you go,
gloves.
yeah, kids gloves. It's the affirmative action for conservative white men, right? What will they say? So let's make sure David Brooks has a New York Times column. Let's make sure that Scott Jennings is there. It takes over. So the Overton window moves. And the third thing is maybe billionaires aren't our friends, Kim, and maybe we should tax the shit out of them. And maybe
At
a
least.
Democrat who wants to become president in 2026 should take on the oligarchy. Three things that Brian said that brought up top of my mind. Your response. Anything you want to add?
I'll see. I'll try to go backwards. I was gonna flash my guillotine tattoo, but I don't know who else watching. It is
No,
2026 now.
let's see it. Let's see it.
Oh, I've got I've got
The
it. It's in
figurative
there
guillotine tattoo.
somewhere.
Oh, I see it. I see it. That's dope.
Yeehaw!
My old ones. Wear your heart on your sleeve, right?
Or something. And Donald Trump, he'll wear somebody else's heart on his sleeve.
But and that one thing I did wanna kinda return to something you were saying about all these, let's call them legacy media, mainstream media. I feel like
Corporate
it's got
media.
kind of wacky.
Corporate
Sure,
media.
corporate media. These corporate media goons and how they are all buddy. It's one big club we in it, that sort of thing. I really think that perception and that reality, right, is part of why journalism and journalists and news has got kind of a worse rap among people.
Of
Like,
course.
Justifiably so.
we get a little less sympathy because I think for a lot of folks that look, a lot of people are not paying attention to this shit. They have other
Mm.
stuff to do. They have kids. They got bills. They have like journalist jobs. Like that is like talking about My Little Pony. Who cares? But when you talk about the news, the media, they think of the big TV faces. They're like, oh, that's a journalist, like the Salizas or Rachel Maddow or whatever, like Demon of the Day on Fox News. They think that's what journalism is, and that's not. I'm sure it takes some doing, but it's not the same as doing an in-depth investigative feature. Not the same as fact checking. Not the same as doing actual reporting. And the people that are actually doing reporting, reporters, journalists, we're not getting TV contracts. We're not getting health insurance. We're not getting much of anything. And so I think there is a little bit of pushback from folks when you talk about how tough it can be to be a journalist. We're like, oh, well, you're fine. You have this glamorous job, or you're a member of the media. Yeah, and we're all broke as shit. Like, even the only good journalism jobs left are at the New York Times. If you want to, they're not gonna let some dirtbag like
I
me
don't
in the doors
believe that,
anyway. But what,
No, but
girl?
you
I
know,
bet. I mean,
good
you
point.
probably have a pension or
It's
something.
also with actors.
I'm just
It's
out
also
here in
with
the
actors,
trenches, you
right?
know.
We always used to joke about this, because you and I know, and Brian knows, that if people see you on TV, or if people see I've been very lucky. I had a byline for Washington. I've had a byline all these places, but they think I'm like, I get like a pension and a 401k. I'm like, I'm independent, bro. And they think if they see you on CNN, you must be rich. I'm like, what are you
Yep.
talking about?
It's wild.
And also with actors, right? A majority of actors, folks. That's why it was during the writer's strike. If you all remember, people are like, you all are so spoiled. I'm like, most writers and actors in Hollywood are poor, working class folks trying to get by. That's why the union is so important. There's only a few at the top who make the FU money, but the rest are just like average Jose's. They have more in common with you. Like, most of these writers, these journalists, these reporters, especially the local outlets, folks, they're just, them. They go to your grocery store. They're driving a Honda. They're not
Yeah,
like the
if
big
that.
rappers.
A
I see. I see
2005
Philly and
Honda. Let me
I
be
see Philly
blunt.
and Choir
Wait.
folks out
Let
and
me
about all the
let Kim
time.
finish.
Okay.
Then I'll go to you, Brian.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, yeah, like I hang out with Philly and Carver folks. We all go to the same dive bars. But one little thing I wanted to mention, just from kind of peeping at the chat and just in general, the response to all these folks losing their jobs that had like healthcare and stability and all that nice stuff, let alone the legal heft of the Washington Post organization. A lot of folks will say, oh, okay, well, like just go start a Substack. Just start your own thing. Why don't you guys just like do your own thing? Like, baby, my landlord does not care about my creative endeavors. He cares that I send him his money on the first of the month. You can start the most fantastic, well-meaning, well-intentioned, well-sourced blog in the world, but unless you're getting paid for it, it's a labor of love. It's not a labor that's being compensated. It's really hard to start your own magazine, your own newspaper, even your own Substack if you're someone who relies on that income. And we have seen some really impressive and inspiring instances of worker-owned co-op publications that are doing great, like Defector, like oh gosh, discourse blog I still love, like 404 Media. A lot of folks that come from the media world got hit in these mass layoffs and were able to marshal the resources they had to create something new and good. But one of the unfortunate things about these big sort of like da 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 scattershot mass media layoffs is like there's 300 people that have different beats, that have different needs, different areas of expertise. If every single one of them starts a Substack, are all of y'all gonna subscribe to all 300 of
Of
them,
course
give them
not. You
$5
can't.
a month?
You can't even
No.
afford your
Like
milk and your eggs, folks.
like, I can't
Yeah,
afford to pay for my friend's
but
Substacks.
but hey, gas is only $1.99 a gallon, so we're doing a lot better.
No.
That
Well,
No,
I want
it's
rent a
never
car?
been $1.99 a gallon. Every time he says it, it's a lie.
no,
But
well, let me say,
look, he
Brian, I know when you, I know you want to jump in. Let me just, I'm going to get you in 1 second, but let me just add on. Let me give a personal story for Kim,
sure.
because people don't realize, right? So people see me. This has been my life. I wrote about it in my book. People had this assumption about me that I apparently must be wealthy. I wrote a play, Kim, and I published a play because, playwrights are so wealthy. And then, New York Times wrote about me when I was a playwright back in the day. And then I did a piece in McSweeney's when I was a solo attorney. And then, I wrote a piece in Guardian. So some of my friends always thought, oh man, you must be crushing it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm independent. I pay for this was before I was married, pay for my own insurance. I have health problems. I'm getting by, right? And then I remember after People See You, right? Though I was on Al Jazeera America co-hosting about 13 years ago. The first time I actually got like a real paycheck in my life. I'm like, this is amazing. Got married. We had a kid. I'm like, wow, money. Who would have thought? Like I could pay my bills. Al Jazeera America, rest in peace, sinks. So then I'm hustling again. But once people see you out there, they think you're rich. You think, oh, I saw a book. I saw Brian on TV, right? And even before the Substack, folks, it's been about a year and a half since I started the Substack. Straight up, I always try to be transparent. My wife is a doctor, but she's a family health medicine, a physician.
Oh, it's one of the nice ones.
Yeah, the nice ones, but the poor ones, right? So you got to hustle. We got 3 kids. And so I was like, what am I going to do? Because I was speaking out against the war, the genocide in Gaza. I got boycotted. I've shared this. My speaking engagements dried up. I'm not the only one. Corporate media no longer a fan of me because I was calling out corporate media complicity. I was using the F word, Kim and Brian, fascism. I was using the A word, authoritarianism. Just straight up, all the contracts were gone, right? And so I started Substack. I worked my butt off, and I just got lucky, Kim. I got lucky in that I just got to this point where I can kind of get by. Not rich, but I can pay my bills. Now you're saying, and this was a year and a half ago, Brian and Kim. Now you're saying in the past year and a half to 2 years, that was before people jumped in out of desperation, Kim. So now you have thousands of people in the past 2 years who just got laid off and are jumping into an already populated landscape where people, like you said, before things were even tougher, gave their money. Now prices are up due to the stupid trade war. And now the billionaires are openly telling us, don't worry, we're going to replace you anyway with AI. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there to make it personal. Brian, continue.
Well, let's see. I got my first job in journalism as a professional journalist after leaving college in 1983. At the time, I was managing a pizza place making $25,000 a year. I took my first job in journalism for a third of that amount of money.
Masochist.
So my wife and I ate liver and onions every day or peanut butter and jelly and lived in a one-room apartment with a dog who liked to shit in the bathroom all the time. It was fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything. There has always been struggle in journalism. As H.L. Mencken said 100 years ago, there's never been any money in journalism. You used to be able to at least pay your bills. Today, it's damn near impossible. I have 43 years vested as a journalist. I feel passionately for what I do. And that passion is corrupted by those who will make sure that those who like what we do don't get paid unless you're at the very top of the food chain. And even then, you are expendable. And never forget that you're expendable. We own you. And that's That's the bottom line. So healthcare, no, I haven't had it. Pension fund, no, I haven't had it. What I have had is a front row seat to history. I have covered conflict zones, been jailed 4 times, fought the president of the United States. I refused to back down to a bully. I'm very happy for all of that. All the money in the world couldn't pay me for that experience. But what it would be nice to do is to be able to not worry about going into a hospital if something befell me that would hurt my health and I would have to declare bankruptcy to take care of myself. That's where we need to change. A reporter, and that's why I think you have to subscribe to back to that, low interest loans for owners. Make sure that you make healthcare cheap and affordable for them, and promote journalism instead of trying to destroy it. Everything that you described, Waj, everything that we've seen and talked about today is the fault of the government, the federal, state, and local government. And until we stand up to it, we're going to fall for it. And at the end of the day, if we don't do something about it, it was Jefferson who said, for a democracy to survive, you need a well informed populace. We do not have that. And until we get it back, until we teach good, sound journalism and independent journalists, corporate journalists, whomever, exercise and go after vetted factual information, which is still the coin of the realm, until we stress that and are able to do it without fear of going to jail or dying of hunger, the democracy is lost.
Amen. And Kim and Brian, let's not forget, it was just Friday. It seems like 50 years ago that this administration, on bullshit charges, arrested 4 black journalists, including Don Lemon, who's very prominent. Kim, you and me and Brian, we ain't as popular as Don Lemon. If they could go after Don Lemon,
Well, you've not talked to my wife. She thinks I am, but
no, I
that's
mean,
okay.
well, yeah, you accept of, yeah, but me and Kim were humble sort. So, they, if that was a sign, we'll come after you. What are you going to do about it? Last month, they raided the Washington Post Office, right? They wanted to get the confidential information, right? Now they're saying openly, we don't give a shit that you want a Pulitzer. In fact, because you want a Pulitzer for covering Gaza, F you. You actually brought up accountability. They've taken over all the sites. And this reminds me right now, Kim and Brian, I don't know if you've been following this, but this is the oligarchic capture of journalism that has happened in Hungary and in India. The leaders' friends and cronies capture everything up, gobble everything up. They make all the money. They drink our milkshake, and then they promote a very skewed narrative that helps them, confuses the masses. The rest of the people, like you said, Kim, where people are tired, they're exhausted, they're overworked, the economy's bad, they're working 2 jobs just to stay broke, they're getting laid off, they can't afford their gas, there's disinformation, they don't know who to trust. And that type of population, Kim, is easily controllable. And I don't know if you saw the latest news, which we've been talking about, we're going to talk about tomorrow on The Left Hook, is now this administration is building concentration camps, detention centers, and private prisons. So if you're desperate, Kim, and you don't have a job, 80% of people in prison are poor. If you're poor, you tend to do some things that you would otherwise not do. Well, hey, private prisons, baby. You can eat. They eat with bodies. Am I being too crazy here, Kim?
I mean, incarcerated workers generate billions in profit for this country. Many of them are paid
Slavery.
nothing whatsoever. Yeah, literally slavery. Actually, for folks that are paying attention, February 8th, the Free Alabama movement will be launching a strike in Alabama's prisons, like they've done for the past few years. People who are in prison are workers too, and they're organizing too, including prison journalists. And it really is scary. Like you're saying, we're not all Don Lemon who has, like, a good lawyer and everything. Like, I think it bums me out so much thinking about how truly chilling how much of a chilling effect this is going to have on folks that report on the regime, that are trying to uncover this corporate malfeasance. I mean, there's a reason that Washington Post just laid off, Carolyn Donovan, who was covering Amazon and their worker abuses and their just general devilry. Like,
I mean,
it is
Kim, I'm sure that was just a coincidence that Jeff Bezos made his money off of Amazon and is the owner of Washington Post. Come on.
a man who started out by selling books just killed off one of the most, like, important book sections in an American newspaper and lets
Not to mention
AI versions of
sports.
our books be sold by whoever the fuck on Amazon.
It's painful. I mean, you're right, Kim. Listen, I know. Thank you all for joining me at the last second, Kim. Kim literally jumped on, and Brian literally jumped on. I literally messaged them and like, when now? Great. Kim, before I let you go, and before I shamelessly promote yourself, a question that's people feel very despondent, right? And Brian, I know you gave the go-tos, but in this moment where ICE is literally killing, literally murdering American citizens, covering it up, and then lying about it, folks, this is why framing matters too. I've seen all the breaking news. 700 ICE agents to leave Minneapolis. What I would have led with is 2,000 ICE agents
Yes.
remain in Minneapolis. Okay. And furthermore, we know about the concentration camps. We know about the lies, the gaslighting. And now 300 excellent journalists from, despite his problems, Washington Post did great reporting, are gone. We're going to see more and more layoffs, folks. You know it. Elon Musk, you see other countries behaving how we should behave. They raided Musk's office yesterday because Twitter now, yeah, Twitter now is a hellscape, not just for Nazis and disinformation, but also pornography, child pornography. That's what's happening right now. And they have a summons for Elon Musk to come to France. I guarantee you he won't make it. But for the people who are on the streets, right? You mentioned the strikes. People on the streets. There's no King's rally. Grand Tifas are coming out on the streets. White grandpas are coming out against ICE. At this particular moment, can you make the case for people who are like, you know what should I care about media? What should I care about the actors? What should I care about the cultural workers? They're not like me. Why what happened on the Washington Post by billionaires is actually an attack on American labor and American democracy, and we should care.
I mean, first of all those workers that got laid off were part of their union. They're union workers, part of the Washington Baltimore News Guild. Also, they're people just having a working as a reporter, as a journalist, like Brian was saying, it's a privilege, it's an incredible job to have. It's also a lot of fucking work. Not doing it for your health. You're doing it because you care about the truth and about the world and about the people around you. And we're not going to know about what's happening, what's being done by this regime, if there aren't people doing all that work, messing around with the record requests and filing the FOIAs and talking to sources and doing whatever the hell it is Ken Klippenstein does to get all of his crazy scoops. Like, you want to know what's happening because, okay, a bunch of journalists who you've never heard of lost their jobs, whatever. But that's part of a bigger picture. They're losing their jobs, but so are auto workers in Michigan, so are service workers around the country, so are however many hundreds of thousands of workers got doged. Like, it's coming for
Amazon
you
workers,
eventually.
UPS workers,
Amazon, literally, I think the Atlanta
Oracle's workers.
Journal-Constitution just had layoffs too. Like, it's coming for you. You don't have to care about me, my little labor reporting gig, and the fact that I work at my friend's dive bar on the weekends to make ends meet, and I have 2 books out. Like, okay, whatever, fuck me. But you should care about your neighbors and care about society, right? Like, we're in this together. That's why you see these massive worker actions, these massive strikes, these massive protests to call on the government to get ICE the fuck out of our communities. That's why you see no kings. That's why you see grandmas and Holocaust survivors and folks who survived the first round of so much of this nonsense coming out and fighting and bringing their grandkids. Like, we're in this together. We're stronger together. And you need to know what's going on so you can plan and so you can prepare and know how to help. And journalists, as annoying as we are, as dorky as we are, as much as we might piss you off, you need us for that because you don't have the fucking time to deal with this shit. Let us deal with it.
Let the
And maybe
masochists
let us
deal
pay
with
our
it.
rent too.
Let the masochists deal with it. And you said something that was on point, Kim. You said it, and I was leading you there. They'll come for you. If they can come for Alex Preddy, if they can come for Renee Nicole Good, if they can come for Don Lemon, they'll come for you. And the Trump administration went for Brian in the first administration, and he resisted. Brian, you are now our Yoda. You have revealed your age. You've been in this game for 4 decades. I'll give the final word to you before we shamelessly promote both of you.
Stand up to a bully. Do not allow them to intimidate you. The only way to defeat the Donald Trump administration is to provide information about the Donald Trump administration. That's my advice to reporters. Stay the course. My advice to everyone in the community is this fall, do not be intimidated. This is not about immigration in Minneapolis. This is about voter suppression. Everything that they're doing is engineered to make
Right.
sure that you don't show up in the polls. Show up, be counted, be an American. Be I swear, I offer this as a free commercial to everyone running for office. All you need to do is say, I state your name, am running for, state the office, promise even as I'm running for my office, I will uphold the tenets of the United States Constitution. Thank you for your support. Contribute healthily. If somebody would just support the Constitution, many of us would be oh so happy.
I would say my litmus test, which I don't think I've shared with you, Kim and Brian, yet. It's been a while since you've been on. Is my floor for any Democrat running? My litmus test is the following. This is just my floor. I need specifics, and I need you to say that you will fight for affordability and accountability. If you're not fighting for affordability and accountability and not giving me specifics, I know you won't change the system. I know you're in the pockets of the corporation. Number two, speaking about the corporations, I need you to take on the broligarchy. If you're unable to use the word broligarchy, I need you to tax the wealthy. If you're not willing to tax the billionaires, I know you're in their pockets and I'm not going to support you. Number three, I need you to be against genocides and fascists abroad. If you're not willing to call out Israel a genocide or be against authoritarian leaders, what faith do I have in you fighting fascists at home? You won't. You'll be complicit. Number four, I need you to say abolish ICE, like now, like yesterday. If you don't like the word abolish ICE, deconstruct ICE. If you don't like the word deconstruct ICE, defund ICE.
Defund.
Defund, deconstruct, replace ICE with something better. Okay,
If
fine.
it
I'm giving
was
you
what
all
it
these.
used to be, it would be okay because they were
INS.
investigators.
No, well,
And
see, I disagree. Kim, I'm with you. I think ICE was always terrible. I've been on it for 20 years. But before ICE, there was replace it with something else. ICE only existed in 2003. It's been terrible. Brian, I
Borders are
will.
fake, who cares? Let them in.
Yeah,
I don't give a
and then
shit.
the fifth one, my fifth one is, I've been paying attention, Kim, and to your point, Brian and Kim, when you all went after pro-Palestinian activists, and then when you went after Somalians and Haitians and Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and when you went after Don Lemon, and then when you went after all these CNN and CBS, if they can come after you, they can come after Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy. So if you're willing to throw any group under the bus, I know you're willing to throw me under the bus. Those are my 5 litmus tests, folks. That's just me speaking for myself. That's my floor. And in addition to what Kim and Brian said, maybe add on those 5 as well. Kim, shamelessly promote yourself and your books.
Oh, I'm working with on a third one now. That'll be interesting. But I've got 2 books out. Like you said, Fight Like Hell, the grown-up radical labor history book, and Fight to Win because they wouldn't let me swear, the kids version for ages about 8 to 14, depending how nerdy your kid is. And I'm a journalist. I write for In These Times and The Nation and The Baffler, Teen Vogue. For now, they kind of let me slide back
Oh, that's
in.
good.
And a bunch of other places. I'm freelance, right? So I'm a mercenary. I just got to what is it called? I just got to host a podcast for the first time with uh the EWOC, the Emergency Workers Organizing Committee, which is a really fantastic project that folks should look up. And you can hear my dulcet South Philadelphia tones narrating some of those episodes. But otherwise, yeah, I'm aggressively online, unfortunately for everyone. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter and Instagram and all that. And I made a website,
Good.
sort of,
What,
kim-kelly.com.
wait, let me go to Kim
Yeah,
dash, like, is it like
dash.
dash
Yeah,
Kelly.com?
yeah.
Bang.
There's
And
other Kim Kellys. There's a Canadian curling champion who she got me. She still got me on the Google results, but I'm working on it.
and Blue Sky Kim is at kimkelly.bsky.social.
Oh, yeah, I think
And
so.
yeah, and Kim has
Yeah.
I was saying you have such a nice, soothing voice that podcast would be great for you. And also, she has awesome tats and piercings. Next time we'll talk about those. Brian, talk to us about your awesome tats and piercings.
Wait
Ooh.
a minute. I want to go back to the Ewoks. As a Star Wars fan, I just like the name of that particular group. I'm with you, Kim.
Brian, shamelessly promote yourself, your book, salon, and
Oh, all right. So salon.com every Friday. This is I don't know, the 7th or 8th or ninth book. Fuck it. I can't tell anymore. But it's free the press wherever fine books are sold. It's Brian at Brian Karem on all social media, Substack, Reporter's Notebook. Just ask the question wherever fine podcasts are sold. And if you buy any of the books, please don't buy them through Amazon. Go through independent booksellers.
yes. And Kim, if I may, I don't like the fact that you're working two jobs just to say broke.
Two, I wish.
In all seriousness, if you don't mind sharing, what's the best way to get money in your pocket for people who want to support you?
Uh, I have a Patreon. I don't update it as much as I should. Um, it's just my name, I think. I have Venmo, but that's like
As you can clearly see, you have found a person who's a worse capitalist than me. Her name is Kim Kelly. I'm pretty bad, but I say this as a compliment to you. You are really bad. This is Kim's Patreon. I found it for her. Patreon.com/Kim Kelly.
I
So
have a
I found
Venmo.
it
I'll
for
put
her.
it in there. I
So,
promise I
folks,
won't buy more tattoos with it
yeah.
unless you want
So,
me
folks,
to.
listen. The book is fantastic. I'm not just saying it. We had Kim on 2 years ago when she released the book. It's called "Fight Like Hell: A History of the Labor Movement in America." And what Brian and I were talking about, this 5-decade assault on workers, which corresponds to this 5-decade assault on the media, which corresponds to this 5-decade assault on our democracy. This is a long time coming. And Brian, I think you gave a really good analogy. Is that it's been hey Billu. This is Billu, guys. This is the guy who was lost for 5.5 days during the snowstorm, and he came back. Um,
Aw.
as you were saying, Brian, our democracy was pulverized by these people, and Donald Trump was the final instrument to put the death blow in it. But there's still more of us than of them. So please go support Kim, go support Brian. If you have money, first go support Kim, then go support Brian. And if I may, folks, I'm trying to learn to be a good capital. Check it out, Kim. You need to do this because I've been working on this. This will help you. The Left Hook has no paywalls. Everything is free. My YouTube channel is free. I depend on the kindness of strangers. I'm like Blanche Dubois without the melodrama. But I have a 25% off special. It is only $3.75 per month. If you want to support the Left Hook, I'm completely independent. I depend on you all. It's the lefthhook.substack.com/special. $3.75 a month. Kim, where is your Substack? People are asking.
I made one, but I don't like doing it. I like working with editors and, like, fact checkers. I
Oh
just
my
like giving
God. Oh
assignments.
my God. I love you. Yes. Yes. That's
I
my
do too.
preach to everyone. Everyone needs an editor.
I agree. Folks, hey, listen, what Kim says, the reason why I was hesitant about the Left Hook, like Kim and Brian, I like working with the team. I like working with the editors. This is why, if you notice, I hope people care. I try my best with spelling and grammar. Once in a while, I make mistakes. My nerd subscribers say, "What?" I'm like, "Thank you." I try to hyperlink. In Substack, people just vomit shit out, Kim, like it's a diary. I try not to do that. Even the short ones, I try to always show you the facts and the homework. But this is where we're at, folks. So all I'm going to say is, Kim, is people will appreciate your nerdiness. Try your best. Don't let that stop you from getting on Substack because a lot of people, I think you have a wealth of information, and I think you will find people willing to pay for your wealth of information.
I'm a really
Especially,
bad boss, even to myself.
God, you're even worse than I am. I have to talk to you offline. Brian and Kim, thank you all. Thank you all for taking the time, folks. Please go bother Kim. She's on Substack. So what you should do right now, folks, anyone who subscribes to Left Hook and Brian, first subscribe to Brian and then subscribe to Kim. She's gonna get like 1,000 more followers, and then she's gonna be like, oh shit, I should do posts, and maybe people will pay. So do that, folks. Help her out. Help us help you, Kim. And thank you, Brian. Thank you, Kim, for the
Wait a minute, got a question to ask.
Yes, yes.
What part of the world are you in, Kim?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I live in Philadelphia. Right now, I'm in Lancaster. My husband's at, like, a sustainable farm conference, and he's the one that I went at because he's locked out of the hotel room because
We
he
will
forgot his
talk
key.
about a project offline that I would love to have you involved in.
And folks,
Yay.
yeah, please do that, folks. Brian, what's your Substack, real quick?
It's a Reporter's Notebook.
Reporter's Notebook. Thank you all. Thank you for joining. I was a little bit under the weather, but there's 2,100 people
Get
watching.
some rest, nosh, eat. You worry me. Come on.
I'll drink some chai. And folks, this will be up later on our Substacks, and inshallah, Kim will be inspired to start her Substack. It's super easy, Kim. It'll take you 5 minutes. Just help
And I
me
have to
help you
write
get
stuff
money.
for it.
Help me help you get money. And folks, thank you all for watching. Be kind, take care of yourself, and please, oh please, don't be a fascist. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Kim.